The mailman doesn't deliver on a Sunday.
If you don't like that, you don't like NBA basketball.
Anthony for three. Bang! J.R. Smith! We just saw men fly. LeBron James with no regard for human life.
Cleveland! This is for you!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Coast to Coast. I am Ronan Gaine. Joining me as always, Chris Nambu. Back after a little break. We took a little summer break. We're both obviously busy. Chris is very busy. I'm busy with work.
I don't know what break
so
you're talking about, man.
We
missed the finals.
we just took a break from the podcast. Our lives as a whole, we were definitely not on a break, but we're back now. We're gonna have another interesting talk. We're still off season stuff. We're still in the depths of that. We're going to be beginning our look at some of the teams that have a lot of questions to answer going into the next season. Obviously, there's the usual ones. We're going to be looking at the ones that maybe people are forgetting about. There's a lot going on, lots of change with them. We'll be getting into that. We'll be also opening up a new segment called the Throwback Corner. A little discussion on a few bits that don't get as much screen time these days, aren't talked about enough anymore, but pretty amazing facts when it happened and deserve a bit more recognition. Then we're going to be going into a little draft. We'll explain that to you later. Me and Chris are going to be drafting a team with a budget, so it should get interesting before a few other fun segments to finish off. But before we get started, I just want to thank you all so much for listening. And remember, you like what you're hearing, like, subscribe, and we will keep providing that content. Before we start, Chris, how are you doing? You good?
We're good. Like you said, the break is not much of a break. Basically, we're in finals week right now. I've had like 4 tests a day every week. Nobody wants to hear about that, and neither do I. But good that we can talk about some basketball, and good that we can look at the NBA 75. I don't think we had a chance to actually talk about it when it came out. So good to do a little history review. And we do have to give our disclaimer that we are millennials. So any older people out there, I respect your NBA knowledge. I respect the history. But we're going to be picking people, too, that are a little near and dear to our hearts as well. But I think first, we're talking Raptors here?
We're talking Toronto Raptors. A
lot of
questions. A lot of questions.
Where did we start with them? I mean, first, I want to start with Nick Nurse. I don't think we gave him a proper goodbye on the pod or a welcome, really, to Philadelphia. But Nick Nurse, a guy who's been easily a top 3 coach in the league for 5, 6, 7 years now. The amount of success he's had, it's crazy to see that. I thought he was going to be the guy to lead the young guys to where they're supposed to be on this team. So this is really, I don't think it's being talked enough about how this is a very, very new, fresh chapter for the Raptors as they enter in with the new head coach.
Yeah, it's very strange sort of situation. They're kind of like half making moves where you think, oh, maybe they're looking towards a rebuild, and kind of half just kind of shaking things up just a little bit to get them on what they're hoping will be onto a better track. But obviously, the fire Nick Nurse, they bring in a first-year head coach, Darko Rajakovic, assistant in Memphis, assistant for the Suns, assistant for OKC. He's got a lot of experience as an assistant. You don't really know until he gets the opportunity what he's going to be like. But it's definitely an interesting move to go from a guy like Nick Nurse to Darko. It's going to be interesting to see where they go from here, and just the team as a whole then as well. It's an interesting situation that he's coming into.
I think that the whole, what do you think he's going to be, criticized for or expected? Like, what's the main expectation for him coming into this team? Because I think, some players, or some coaches rather, you bring them into a team that's ready to win, and it's like, okay, the benchmark is playoffs, or the benchmark is Eastern Conference Finals, something like that. But for a team like the Raptors, where there are really good players on this team, there is potential, but there are also young players. There's also a lot of things to clean up. Like, what kind of expectation do you put on a guy like that for his first head coaching job too?
Yeah, it's a tough one, because on paper you're kind of saying that he kind of has to get them into the playoffs just because of some of the guys they still have. The fact that they haven't traded off a Siakam or anything like that. So you kind of still think that the playoffs is still kind of what is expected out in Toronto. they've been pretty blessed. I mean, over the last 10 years, they've been fairly consistently in the playoffs almost every year. Obviously, won the title in 2019, but that maybe it's reaching a little bit. Maybe it's a lot of pressure to put on a first year head coach with this current team, but I feel like there's still enough talent there, and they're still in a position where the playoffs got to be the expectation for this Raptors team.
Yeah, it's the expectation. I think that's a win. Like that's a best case scenario. They make the playoffs. They obviously didn't make it out of the play-in last year, and you lose Fred VanVleet.
Mm-hmm.
So how do they fill that hole in this current roster? That to me is the biggest question.
Dennis Schroeder. I mean, that's the replacement they got. I mean, like it's weird. They've probably had they lost a key member of their team, like Fred VanVleet, one of their best players, their point guard, one of their main shooters. He's gone. They only really added Dennis Schroeder, McDaniels obviously they got Pirtle back, but it's gonna be a big gap to leave, and it's gonna put the ball in Scottie Barnes' hands a lot more. I think that's got to be the main expectation here.
Yeah, so I feel like that's the main thing. If the Raptors somehow make it into the playoffs, that tells me one of a few things have happened. One, Scottie Barnes has really figured out how to score the basketball. You saw his percentages go down. You saw his confidence go down in his shooting. You saw him get the Ben Simmons treatment at times last year. So you hope that the shooting comes along. And, this is one thing that you read about coaches sometimes. You don't know how much validity there is to it because, you're not there. You can't really make associations. But a lot of people have talked about how he has really developed Jaren Jackson Jr. over in Memphis, how he's been a part of the development of Desmond Bane, who's been one of the premier shooters in this league. So, I mean, put those two things together, do with those what you will. But those are two really big things that you'd want to see from Scottie Barnes, who has aspirations to be a defensive player of the year type of player, who has aspirations to be a better shooter. So if he's being successful, I think that's how they're in the playoffs. Or I just don't see a lot of growth elsewhere on this team. I think, and this is not to downplay the all NBA player he is, but I think Siakam is who he is. And he's going to bring it every night. He's going to be a guy that's going to keep you competitive. But could we see more from OG? Maybe. OG has talked about wanting to be more on ball, but that kind of comes in direct conflict with what they want to see from Scottie. So as a new coach too, I think heading into the season, that those are things to figure out because it's a clean slate for these players. Nick Nurse may have had expectations for who OG is as a player, but this is kind of an opportunity. Maybe that changes. Unless that's really dependent on Masai's vision for this team. But, maybe there's some players on this team that can recreate themselves, whether that's OG, Scottie continuing to get better. And this is a super long shot, but a guy who has talked a lot about wanting playing time and who has, at least showed it in spurts, like being very competitive, good shooter. Malachi Flynn, I mean, maybe he gets some playing time on this team. So there are some opportunities. I'm curious to see how it goes, but all this is going to come down to player development for Darko. Yeah,
that's the big thing. It's developing Scottie Barnes into that 20-point per game two-way leader of your team. I mean, he had a pretty lackluster second year. It was disappointing for him, disappointing for the Raptors, and you're kind of thinking, maybe they'll look that sort of situation. Maybe they'll kind of look to move off of a guy like a Siakam or a few of the other older guys, just to kind of just give Scottie Barnes that chance to grow into himself and find out what kind of player he wants to be. Like, what sort of impact is the amount of time the ball's in Siakam's hand having on Scottie Barnes? Does he just need that freelance to just do whatever to really grow, or can he do it alongside a guy like Siakam, or even when he was playing with VanVleet? He's gone now. That's going to mean more ball time for Scottie Barnes, but he's going to have to take a pretty significant jump this year. I think they'll be expecting it. Maybe they'll be surprised and they'll act like it's a bit of a surprise, but I think behind the scenes in Toronto, they'll need to be expecting a pretty decent jump from Scottie Barnes. Like, he's the guy that they're looking to build around for the next, 10 years?
Yeah.
the third year after, especially after a lackluster second year, it's time for a jump. He's going to need to be taking a big jump in his points per game. If he sustains the passing, he's going to have the ball in his hands more. He averaged just under 5 assists last year. He could possibly take that up to possibly 6 or 7 if he's getting the ball more and he's understanding the game more. And like you said, it's going to be down to him whether or not they make the playoffs, most likely. And also, when you think about the starting team, you're kind of like, are they expecting like Grady Dick to instantly come in and be like a top 5 shooter in this league? Like, is that what they're going to need to be able to really make that sort of jump? But it's definitely an interesting one. Like you said, the player development for this team is definitely the key, and that's the main thing that I think you're right. They'll want to see from the new head coach is how he looks to develop Scottie Barnes, how he looks to bring Grady Dick into the league. Maybe he looks to get more out of OG, more out of Precious Achiuwa, guys like that. It's going to be player development's definitely the main focus. You'd have to think bringing in a guy like Darko.
How well do we need to see Scottie play for him to quote unquote deserve? And the whole strategy behind having to keep players is definitely, that definitely comes into play. So oftentimes players are inking contracts that do they deserve? I don't know. Everyone deserves it because they're working for it. But how well does he have to play for that? Because he's coming up on a max rookie extension. And I mean, I think at a minimum, I think 30% of the cap, I think that's what, 1.7. It's a lot of money. Like he would be signed to a lot of money. And on top of that, not just like stats wise, does it come into play at all seeing how Masai Ujiri talked to him throughout the season, and coaches have talked about it, and there's clearly smoke about his work ethic, not to question his character, because I mean, he's a young guy coming into his own in this league. But I think you see pretty early on for the superstars in this league that at a bare minimum, they are known for their work ethic. They are known for how bad they want it, how hard they strive for it. And that's just not a question. So to see that come into question throughout this season as he was slumping on top of the lack of production makes me wonder how big of a jump, like personality wise, he needs to make, and on the court he needs to make in a year where he's going to be potentially extended for 30% of their cap.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm like the Raptors and looking at that, that's obviously something they need to make a judgment on in terms of the actual personality, but you hope you'll see that the growth in his personality that will showcase on the floor as well. But like, if he's averaging what he's averaging this year, and like he's shooting below 30 from 3 again, only getting over 20 in 18 games like he did last year, it'll be very difficult for them to give him a max extension or anything like that. So I think there definitely is pressure on him, and there's probably a bit of pressure on the Raptors too, to like, he's in a year now where it could be kind of make or break whether they want to commit to him or not. He's gonna have to be somewhere in like the 28-6 sort of realm if he's around there for the season, and they're actually winning games on top of that, and he's shown he can be a real two-way threat and the leader of this team. Then you're like, yeah, we can believe in this guy. We can put our money into this guy and believe we're building around him. But if he continues to struggle with his efficiency, continues to struggle as a scorer, and doesn't really take that leap as the lead guy for this team, then the questions really will start to raise. And if they were to commit, then I think a lot of people will be really questioning what the Raptors are seeing.
Yeah, I think just in general, this team is unfortunately like the build of it doesn't make sense right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you love the individual success that you've seen from not only Pascal Siakam, but OG Anunoby, like a guy that everyone's on the phone trying to get. Everyone's on the phone trying to get him. Everyone's on the phone trying to get Siakam. And, Scottie was even potentially a piece that could have won them Kevin Durant, which apparently was a non-starter. But this is the interesting thing about player development, because you go from a guy like Scottie, where in year one it's like it's such a blank canvas because he's such a special and a different kind of player, like with his size and his versatility and just like his style of playing too, like the Magic Johnson-esque type of passing that he has, and obviously that came in spurts, and improved a little bit last season, but I think there's definitely a way for him to become a star in this league, but it's a very different type of way. Like he has to pave that. He's not just like some typical, wing shooter defender. Like you just have to get better at these two things. Like in order for him to be a great player, like he needs to become a point guard. He needs to become a 6'9" lanky point guard, stay in front of small guys, be able to still space the floor, make smart decisions like that. I think these are really tough things for a player at his age. So it's definitely understandable that it's coming there. But I think it's fascinating to watch a player like him grow, because you don't really know where it's going to go. You're not really sure like what kind of player he's going to end up becoming, because I think he's just so different of a talent.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. I think it's not a guy where you're thinking, like he really has that potential to be that knockdown scorer, that go-to guy in the moment. But you're also like, he could still be that star. Like the Raptors picked him number 4, right? And they clearly believe that there's talent there to be a lead star, the worth building around. So yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how his game grows. And this should be the first insight into what type of player he's really going to be in the NBA. This is the year that we should really get the first insight there. Hopefully, if we're Raptors fans, you'll be hoping that it's all of the above. The playmaking's on point, the defense is there. He starts being that scorer, but I definitely think the defense and the passing, if that really comes to fruition this year, then that's something that you can believe in there.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that, like, best case scenario, if Grady Dick turns out to be he's a top 10 shooter, he's an okay defender. He seemed a little bit more aggressive than I thought, trying to get to the rim. But say he's a proficient, good player in this league. Scottie Barnes can become an actual like point forward, like kind of what we saw, a little bit from Ben Simmons. The way he is the guy taking the ball at the court. He is initiating actions. He's playing more in pick and roll. Siakam's still that guy. OG's still that guy. Pirtle is a rim protector. Is that a starting 5 if all things work out? Is that your playoff team? Or is there still something major missing? Is that a core that you can get behind?
Definitely a core you can get behind. I think, especially like you said, if it's a best case scenario sort of situation, it's also very teetering there, where it could also be like, what the hell are they really doing here? What the hell is going on here? Why do they expect so much out of all these guys? But Siakam is going to be Siakam. You know what you're going to get out of Pirtle. It's just the question marks are there. But if it really comes to fruition, then you're like, definitely, I think at the very least they could be a 7 or 8 seed in the playoffs. If it's through the play-in again, you'd be confident them maybe winning it. As much as there's other talent in the Eastern Conference, I'd be more favorable for them in the East than I would be out West at this time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think like for final thoughts I have on that, just like picturing what this kind of team looks like. A whole summer together and having a true center around them. I think obviously losing Fred, I think is the biggest pain, not just defensively, like with what he brings. He's always leading the league in deflections. I mean, he's so active out there. But offensively, his shooting, if you look at a potential starting 5 that we just mentioned, I think a lot of their shooting issues get fixed by Grady Dick. Maybe he's not hitting, but I think he is a prolific movement shooter. Like he will run around screens. If you can run that for him, that's a wrinkle that really adds a lot to this offense. And then if Scottie Barnes, if his shooting has come along, if he can at least be a stationary shooter, I mean, that does a lot. I think there's just too many times where the only shooters out there are OG and will be Grady Dick. But if Scottie can become proficient there, I think that opens up for Siakam. And just 2 little things there, just adding Grady Dick and that just being able to shoot like 35% from 3 from Scottie. 2 little things, maybe that really vaults his team up. That opens up a lot. It's hard to see if that's going to happen when you didn't even have it with Fred, but I think there's a way. I think there's definitely a path. There's a path for this team to be good, and especially with how much havoc they create defensively. Like, they're just going to be such a long team. Facing Grady Dick's a big guy too. Like, he's not a imposing defender, but just the length that they will have running that squad out there. And then you obviously have Jakob Poeltl back there defending the rim. Like defensively, they can continue to strive to be one of the best defenses in the league.
Yeah, for sure. I think even last year they had a bad year. They often looked like they were struggling. They were still the steady eddies of the league. They were 12th in net rating. They were right there in the middle of the pack. You definitely think that can grow now with a full season with Poeltl. I think we're going to see more growth from OG. Hopefully, more growth from Scottie. But yeah, like you said, the path is there. But this is Scottie Barnes' year. There's pressure on him. If the Raptors are going to be anything this year, the pressure's on Scottie Barnes. But we will remain to be seen what happens there. But it's definitely the Raptors are one, not the major ones. They're not the ones that are going to be going for the championship or even really going to be a contender in the playoffs. But they're one of the most interesting teams as you look ahead into the new season, from what's gone on, what's changed since last year, and what they what could happen in 2023, 2024. But moving on from that, we'll be looking at more teams over the next few pods, the likes of Dallas, the likes of Minnesota, to name a few ahead of the new year. But for now, we're gonna go back a few years. We're heading over to the Throwback Corner, a new segment, just discussing an anomaly that never doesn't really get enough credit. I don't think it's not talked about enough. But from 2015 to 2018, the Warriors and the Cavs, or the Warriors and LeBron James, met in the finals 4 straight years. That is insane, especially when you think of the fact that we've had different teams in the playoffs since 2019. Nobody's gone to the finals back to back, and these two teams went there 4 straight years in a row. The dominance there, just absolutely insane. And to put it into perspective, you think like the most famous rivalry battle of the finals is the Lakers and the Celtics. They never did more than 3 years in a row going to the finals. So like it's just amazing to think of the dominance, how good both these teams were, how good LeBron James was, how good the Warriors were as a whole. It was a crazy time to think about.
I never knew that was the longest because I thought about those Lakers Celtics. So to find that out, I was like, that's crazy. 4 years in a row is the longest streak in the NBA. And it's the longest streak in American sports. And the MLB, the longest one they ever had was 3 in a row back in the 20s with the Giants and the Yankees. So I don't even know how many MLB teams were back in the 1920s. In the NFL, there's only one rematch. There was never multiple years in a row. One rematch between the Cowboys and Dolphins, 72 and 73. In NHL, the last time they had a three-peat was in the 80s between the Oilers and Islanders. 4 times in a row is the longest streak in American sports. And I think it's crazy to think about like objectively now, because you're like just the feat of how good those two teams were. Or like if you're a pessimist like me, maybe how bad some of the other teams were that they were facing. I don't know. Look at the Eastern Conference. But I think it's crazy to think about how those faces pretty much stay the same, except for Kevin Durant going to the Warriors. But LeBron, Kyrie, Kevin Love against Curry, Thompson, Green, and then Durant. But that rematch over and over, I think it was during the time it felt and it still feels like a dark period of the NBA in a way, where like the NBA just kind of belonged to the Warriors. The NBA pretty much just like belonged to LeBron, and like there wasn't a lot of purpose to nuanced conversations of like, oh, who's gonna make it to the finals? Like, who has a chance? Nobody had a chance. Nobody had. I mean, even if you just look at the team, like you go down the West, OKC, they should have been there. It should have been Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant in the final, but they gave it up. I mean, that definitely was a story. The Spurs, I mean, that was a dynasty that had ended its course. They were phasing out, and that was kind of a passing of the torch moment when they eliminated the Spurs. I mean, but Harden twice. Harden never had a chance. It was always like him against the world. And then Dame just sniffed the finals, but they never really had a chance against them in the finals, in the Western Conference Finals. And the East too. I mean, look at the East, the competition that LeBron had. Not even to say that it was bad competition, but I think just compared to the greatness that those two teams achieved during that period of time, it just wasn't close. I mean, you look at that 60-win Hawks team for sure, great. They had what, 3-4 All-Stars. You could probably look back and call them like All-Stars, but not true superstars in their time. And that just was so apparent when they faced LeBron. Like it was obvious. And I think basketball is like one of those sports like you compare, maybe why is there 4 years in a row in the NBA and there never was in any other sport? I mean, you have one guy like LeBron that can turn it on, and the levels to this sport is unbelievable. Like he can supersede 3 amazing players because he is top 2 all time in this sport, one of the best athletes to ever walk this planet. And I mean, it still breaks my heart to you look at DeMar and Lowry. That was such a great Toronto. That was during that period of time. Like the Raptors were an amazing regular season team, season team. And I mean, even facing them in the regular season, they looked like a team that could potentially beat LeBron. And it was never close in the playoffs. And I have to say the same too, like about the Bulls. And I will put so many asterisks against the Bulls not winning against LeBron during that period because of Rose being injured. And I still fully believe that a healthy Rose and a rising Jimmy Butler, I mean, hindsight's 2020, but I don't know. But even
it's gonna
then,
pain you forever, and rightfully so.
Dude, it will. I mean, I won't even go into the details of why that shouldn't have even happened. But that team too never had a chance because of how great LeBron was. At the end of the day, like the king made it. There's 4 years of that darkness for everyone else, but just crazy to look back on. I didn't even realize, like mentally, that was 4 years when you first mentioned it to me.
Yeah, no, it was a weird sort of situation, and it's like obviously the Warriors won it 3-1 on the whole in terms of a series, but like what they had to do to bounce back, like Draymond Green's talked about this, like he fully believes that the Warriors may never become the dynasty after 2016 if they didn't add Kevin Durant. Like he said that he fully believes that like if they might have gone back to the finals game, but he thinks LeBron would have had the edge on them without adding KD. And like you put that move in perspective, obviously they go the first 2 years, 2015 then 2016, they both win one each. The Cavs make the great comeback from 3-1 down in the finals to beat the greatest ever regular season team. And then they go and add Kevin Durant. Like, to put that in perspective, that's literally like the 72-10 Bulls having added Shaq. It's effectively like that sort of level, that sort of level of player, that sort of caliber of player. And like, how could they lose after that? It's just amazing to think of what they had to do to make sure that they were able to take that leap and become that dynasty, that elite team. But it always comes back to, I know I have to toot my LeBron horn here, of course, but like,
I know that's what this is all about. Man.
Yeah, of course, that's all that this podcast is about. We all know that, but you always hear that everyone ate on LeBron while LeBron was there. Everyone got their fill. Maybe they did out west, but not in the East. From like LeBron's first finals appearance, 2007 to 2018, only 2 non-LeBron James teams reached the NBA finals, and only one of them actually won a ring. Like, that is just insane to think of. Yeah, the Magic in 2009 and the Celtics went twice. Outside of that, it was just LeBron. Like, that is a crazy thing to think of. And to think of that elite Warriors team, the guy that they had to bring in to make sure that they were able to beat LeBron and Kyrie. LeBron and Kyrie were, as a duo, probably up there with my favorite ever all time. Watching the game, watching them two together, it's just unbelievable. It's sad that it had to end too quick, but it was an amazing thing to see, and you kind of look at it. When you're looking back on it, it's kind of crazy to think that that actually happened. Like, the greatest regular season team ever added one of the, probably maybe the greatest scorer ever to their team. Like, how is that able to happen?
Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan have entered the chat, but I'll put him top 3, top 5 for sure. But all things considered, that makes me think about too, like the biggest what if is maybe LeBron doesn't go to LA. It feels like he was always going to go there. That was like his plan all along. But if Kyrie stayed, is there motivation for him to stay and finish things out? Like, how many more championships do they make it to together? If they just kept status quo, they rearmed with whatever veterans would join them. And I mean, LeBron's always taking veterans with him. So that would have just been that was a big what if for me, because it felt like he was going to stay there and he was going to finish his career there. You know, the grumblings of LA, but I felt like Kyrie leaving that made that an imminent decision. It was obvious.
Oh yeah, that's always going to be the ultimate what if. It's going to be in the minds of Cavaliers fans. I have a feeling that it's on the minds of both Kyrie and LeBron too, because Kyrie went and made his little switch to Boston, then quickly came to the realization, yeah, maybe I'm better as a second option, and I need to go and team up with a dominator again, and he's done it in Brooklyn and likely doing it again now in over in Dallas as well. But always going to be a what if, and like there's just so many, and even in these great sort of situations, there's always those what ifs and what could have happened. They stay together. Do they make it? Does it go to a 5th finals in 2019? Are the Raptors not there? You know the hold that LeBron has on the Raptors. If LeBron is still playing with the Cavs, even without Kyrie, if he had stayed, would that unbelievable championship run have happened? It's a kind of crazy to think of.
Yeah, 2 dynasties that Kyrie's effectively wasted. I think Kyrie, if he stays with Boston like that, I mean that team's winning championships, and I think they were so close already. And obviously, like hindsight 2020, they've done a lot to come back from that. But I mean that was gonna be the next dynasty, Kyrie, Tatum, Brown, with what they've achieved already. But we've reminisced enough on this.
Why Kyrie? Why? Let's go reminiscing again. Then we'll leave the throwback corner and head over to the draft table. What do we got here, Chris? Explain it to everyone what way we're going to do this draft here.
All right, first of all, I gotta say that math is hard. Like math is really hard. Like basic addition, like algebra. I realized I still can't do that stuff. So when I tried to come up with the tiers and the cost, I think this is what makes sense. But essentially, what we want to do is give credit to everybody on the top 75. Looking back on this list, there's so many players that deserve to be recognized. And every time we do a top 5, it's always your typicals. So we made some rules. We made a cap. So we want this to be a balanced draft. So essentially, can't be drafting more than 1 player in the top 5. Can't be drafting more than 2 players in the top 6 to 15 based on these rules. We have a total cap space of $15. The top 5 is going to cost you $7. You can't get more than that. Top 6 to 15, that's our tier 2. That's going to cost us $5. 16 to 30 is going to cost $3. 31 to 50 is going to cost $2, and then our 50 to 75 is going to cost $1. So we got $15 to spend. We got 5 picks. We got to fill out our roster, and we're going to see who's going to put together the best balanced and be able to do math on top of it in real time. We are going to add this together in real time, I promise. And it won't be as bad as Ronan's typing on screen. I promise it won't be.
It might be. We'll have to wait and see. I'm gonna be generous again. I'm gonna let you have the first pick. I assume we know where you're gonna go, but let's draft our team. $15 budget, drafting from the all 75 list. Let's go.
You're gonna give me the first pick. All right. So I think a lot of people would assume I'm gonna go LeBron or Michael Jordan, but I'm gonna be smart, and I'm not going to relegate my team to 4 bottom 1 picks. I'm gonna go with Kobe. Kobe Bryant.
Okay, that is an interesting start. I don't know. That's yeah, you've thrown me there. That's interesting. I'm gonna take for my first pick. I have to do it. I'm taking LeBron James. We know that. It's gotta be the king. I've blown my $5, but we'll
You're
see.
you're
We'll see what
$7,
happens.
sir.
Oh,
You're
my $7. Sorry, I only got $8
Yeah.
left. Okay.
One pick in. We're still not doing math. All right. I am gonna go in my top 15. Who's gonna play next to Kobe Bryant? Who's gonna match that energy? I'm gonna go with Tim Duncan.
Tim Duncan. Okay, yeah, that's a more expected pick. I think I gotta like that. Imagine those two teamed up together. That would have been insane. I'm gonna go for a lower down one, a bit of a surprise, but I always gotta rep my Knicks. So I'm gonna take at my center for $2. I'm taking Patrick Ewing as my center. Going cheap early, but a guy that dominated in New York is the best, arguably the greatest Knick ever, right there.
I like that. That's a lot of toughness right there. LeBron James, Patrick Ewing. That's a lot. That's a lot of man to go through to get to the rim. All right, this is where math gets tough. I now have $5 left of my budget for 3 more players. So, I'm gonna think hard about this. I need to have a point guard. I need to have a very defensively. I want to go with Gary Payton. But just like Pippen was great alongside MJ, I know Scottie Pippen would be great alongside Kobe Bryant. So I'm spending my $2 on Mr. Scottie Pippen.
Okay,
best second man of all time.
Nice. That's a nice pick. You gotta rep your Bulls there.
Yes, sir.
I like that. Ooh, where do I go from here now? Obviously, I've only got my $6 left, so I gotta be smart with where I'm putting my money, and I guess I gotta arguably go with LeBron's best teammate, his best number 2, and take Dwayne Wade as my shooting guard. $3.
Dwayne Wade.
A guy gets questioned on just a little bit. Injuries obviously played a part in his career. Could he have been one of the best shooting guards ever without the injuries? But he still had a damn good career, and him and LeBron together was fire.
But that was some of the most fun, like, 2-man basketball, like with him. I mean, that picture of him just walking away after the alley-oop to LeBron. That's always what I'm going to remember between those two guys.
100%.
So I got $3 left. I got 2 picks to go. I need a point guard and I need a center. And I can't imagine a better pairing for this team than Steve Nash himself.
Damn you.
Steve Nash himself. I know you wanted to pick him. You got your facilitator next to Kobe Bryant. Someone has to move the ball. It's not going to be him. Someone's got to get Pippen and Tim Duncan involved here. So Steve Nash didn't work out when he actually did play with Kobe, but this time.
No, he was a bit past his prime, unfortunately, then, and let's see. But yeah, if I think those two in their prime playing together, I think that would have been a much nicer combo than it actually worked out when they ended up playing. But you take Steve Nash, I guess I gotta take a point guard too, and I guess someone that we always would have liked to imagine this trio playing together. You gotta take Christopher Emmanuel Paul to play my
Really?
point guard.
Okay. I have to ask a quick question here. Is it Chris Paul or is it Allen Iverson?
Chris Paul.
This is our quick. Would you rather? Okay, Chris Paul over Allen Iverson. Okay, all right.
Paul. Give me that. Oh, look at me! I can't spell again. I always have to mess up. But Chris Paul, and that leaves me with $1 for my last pick. I think. Would I be right in saying that?
I got $1 as well, and this is a no-brainer. I was aiming from the whole time. Dwight Howard.
Yeah.
Prime Dwight Howard.
Yeah, a very good pick. I had him on my list too, but obviously I went with Ewing, and then at my power forward, I have only got my $1, I can't take another LeBron team out. I just can't. I can't do it again. That's what I'm eyeing up
do
here.
it. Just do it. Just do it.
Do I have to do it? Do I have to take? I got to take AD at my there, don't I? I mean, does it have to be AD? No, I'll go weird.
James Worthy.
I'll go
LaMelo,
weird. I'll take Dennis Rodman.
or not LaMelo.
I'm gonna take
Carmelo.
Dennis Rodman. I'm gonna
Dennis
take
Rodman.
Dennis Rodman with my final pick. That's my team. We got your team. Let's see. Steve Nash, Kobe Bryant, Scottie Pippen, Tim Duncan, Dwight Howard going up against Chris Paul, Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, Dennis Rodman, and Patrick Ewing. That'd be a battle. Those are tough teams to get through there.
It's gonna be 85-80. No shooting. This is very typical of your teams, but I'm actually surprised I didn't really fill out any shooting on here. So Chris Paul and Patrick Ewing, that's quite the pick and roll right there. LeBron James, Chris Paul playing together. That's a shame that never actually came to fruition. You obviously know what you get from Dwayne Wade. That's an interesting team. That's an interesting team. I wonder how how would Rodman and LeBron James, how would they mesh on that? How would Rodman and Chris Paul?
Yeah, Rodman and Chris Paul would be the interesting one there, but you know, at the end of the day, heart of hearts, Dennis Rodman is a winner, and that's the most important thing you want in a team, right?
Yeah. Who's winning this head-to-head? Who's winning this head-to-head?
I'm confident in my guys. I think you can make the argument that you have more star power, but I have the superstar. I have the GOAT right there, my GOAT in my team, and I believe that.
I don't know, prime Kobe against prime LeBron, man. Just insert. I don't know.
I'm backing my boys. What do you think?
Scottie Pippen's locking down LeBron. Kobe Bryant's locking down Wade. Tim Duncan, he's scoring whatever he wants, and Robin's too little for Tim Duncan.
I think like the matchups work. Yeah, matchups wise, maybe you might just edge it. Well, maybe I'll take the L on this on the draft here. Maybe, just maybe, but I'm always gonna back LeBron James. LeBron James is gonna win this for me.
Steve Nash, Dwight Howard, that's 5 alley-oops a game. He's dunking all over your team. Tim Duncan, he's in the post. I don't know, man. I'm taking Tim Duncan over Patrick Ewing too.
Yeah. That's like I said. I think you got that extra bit of star player. Maybe you might just have the edge here. I think I'll give you the win here.
Well, no one picked Steph Curry. We didn't get any shooting out here. No Steph Curry, no Ray Allen, no.
It was the prices, man. The prices.
Steph
Curry was tough in there. It's tough to get the expensive guys, multiple of them to really flesh out. I know you started it. You got Bryant and Duncan, but didn't want to go for Steph.
I think that when you look at like the greatest players, I think the crazy thing is like how good these guys are on both ends of the floor.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that, you know, true two-way superstardom is hard to come by these days. Kawhi Leonard, obviously, like he embodies that today's NBA. LeBron has done it, but not all the time. But like your Kobe Bryant, your Michael Jordan, you know, Scottie Pippen, guys who are doing it on both ends of the floor every night. That's not something we see all the time in the NBA today. So when you look at the top of the NBA 75, you're just looking down and all these guys are true like two-way superstars. Like maybe the shooting wasn't there just because they didn't shoot it back in the day, but like I said, it's gonna be 85-80.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be low scoring, and maybe because of the shooting, maybe just because of the great defense. I think both of our teams are gonna be able to put up a pretty reasonable level of defense, especially your guys. But I think I'll let you take the win there. But I'll be coming back from revenge. We'll be doing more drafts as the throughout the off season. But let's move over to something else that we haven't done before. A little tier list, and I don't know how this is gonna work. This is just something I thought about quickly. It's kind of tough to put this into tier list, but we're gonna give it a go anyway. I'm gonna make you rank buzzer beaters, and obviously all buzzer beaters are amazing. They all have different meaning and different things like that. So you can only rank them so low. So we got E, top level, elite. Then we got the A level and B level. That's it. I'll give you four game winners all time. Let's see where you're gonna rank them. First of all, a bit of a throwback you might have forgotten about, but we got Derek Fisher's winner against the Spurs with the series tied at 2-2.
I have forgotten about that.
Where are you putting that?
That I'm putting elite because like that, like Derek Fisher had so many plays like that in his career where like everyone knows like, you know, Kobe's gonna take the last shot he can, but like he had so many plays like that where as like the second, third, fourth best player at times, he always had his cool about him. Like he was one of those guys that like he would take the last shot and not think about it. Like he just had that cold-blooded shooter in him. And like that, I remember that shot. I was really scared you're gonna show me something I can't recall at all, but I specifically remember that shot.
Like that now.
Yeah.
You sure about E? The only thing that's taking it away from being E is literally because it's Derek Fisher. That's literally it.
It's because of the kind of player that that's not a fluky like buzzer beater. Like that's who he is, even though he is not the guy who's taking that shot all the time. I think that's far more impressive. Like, you know, Kobe gets to take that all. He's practicing that game in, game out, but Derek Fisher does not always get that shot, and he's clutch. He's clutch. I'm putting that elite.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
Look at the elevation on that shot for a small guy.
All right, then we go for a regular season one of a more recent one. You might, I think you'll remember it. Luka Doncic.
Oh my gosh! Okay,
against the Celtics.
This is a really funny story actually because our very good friend Tim Thornquist of the pod, he proposed on that day. We came back, we're celebrating, and we just caught the end of this game. And I remember watching it and just being like, all right, Doncic, he's gonna hit that. He's gonna hit that. And I'm gonna rank this in the A just because the stakes weren't as high. But like, how many shots does he have? Where like, you know he's stepping back to his left, but like he just has enough separation, just enough space that he creates on that step back that was money. That was one of the coolest buzzer beaters in the past few years.
Yeah,
that was in the playoffs. I'll give it to him, but
yeah, he's got a few in the playoffs too, though. No, that's just what Luka is. And then one of the more famous LeBron shots, one leg off the backboard against the Raptors. The shot that basically just kind of just defined LeBron's record against the Raptors. He just had a hold on them. He could just do whatever he wanted against that team. Where are you ranking that?
I hated that shot. For that in B.
B. Whoa.
No, I'm putting that in the A. That's just so familiar, man. That's just what he does. And I would put that. I was wondering if you're going to show that or you're going to show his buzzer beater against the Bulls in the.
I didn't want to do that to you. It might get you a little bit upset. I did a
little triggered. Yeah, trigger warnings on this podcast. But no, that was so typical. I'm forgetting which game that was. Was that game 3 or game 4?
2, was it? No, 3. I think it was 3.
I think it was game 3 because I remember watching that and like that was just so reminiscent of when it was a game 3 or game 4 when LeBron hit that buzzer beater against the Bulls, and it was a game that we should have won. Like the momentum was on the Bulls side the whole time, and it felt that way in this same Raptors game where the Raptors finally were going to get their win, and like you needed every possible win that you could, especially when you have a good game. Because when LeBron has a really good game and like his teammates are, but like those are games you're like, okay, we're losing this game. The Raptors had that, and for him to hit I remember when he was like falling away on the left side, it was like, oh, they got him to an awkward shot. That's perfect. And then he banks it in. Can you put that to an F? I hated that. That was awful. It was like reliving the trauma, like seeing that same exact situation play out. But that's who LeBron is, man.
Yeah, that's the way it is. Now I think the last one is going to be very easy for you. Arguably the most famous buzzer beater ever. You could definitely make the argument. The Kawhi shot Game 7, the shot of a million bounces. Is there any other option? Is there where's it going?
All right, that's one of the coolest buzzer beaters of all time, because the fact that it was just rolling around the rim. I'm gonna put that. I mean,
Gotta be E. That's gotta be E. Come on.
is that? I mean, that's E tier. I mean,
Game
the way
7
it did.
of a playoff.
I know.
Come on.
The situation of it is crazy, and the way that changed, the NBA. That changed the NBA in so many ways. One, bringing them a championship. Imagine what Philadelphia would have been winning a championship. Imagine what that team might have still been. I mean, the fact that shifted so much in the NBA, that one shot, like, that's E tier for sure.
Yeah,
but
we got it. Well, there's no doubts. It's got to be the E.
The style points, right? There's no swish.
Nah,
Bottom of the net,
it's
but falling away.
Situation that look like just that shot.
Corner.
That shot there of like Embiid looking at it. Kawhi just like watching it as it bounces around like that. It was just absolutely unbelievable. Like in a game 7 as well. Like it was what a way to finish off. What a way to finish off a series. And that was just like that was the moment where it felt like it was time for the Raptors. It was their year, and ultimately, obviously, that's how it went. And then unfortunately, Kawhi left, and we've never seen him play again. Not quite that, but it's definitely
feels like it.
It's definitely feeling like that, unfortunately. But no, that was fun. That worked out a little better than I thought it would. I thought it might be a bit all E tier or something like that.
Yeah, at least you didn't show me one. I'm like, when did that happen?
Nah, I wasn't gonna do you like that. Come on, man, give me a little bit of credit. I wasn't gonna do your hair like that. Now, finishing off our new segment, our NBA Would You Rather. Have you got anything for me this week, or am I laying them up for you now?
I got a few ones, and this is meant to be kind of a test.
Okay.
All right. Would you rather have RJ Barrett or Cam Johnson?
Ooh.
Oh man. I started easy for you.
This is going to be easy. Oh man, that's a tough question.
Oh no!
After what I saw last year, after what I expected and what I've seen, I'm probably going to take Cam Johnson.
Oh wow! We just end it right there. I got no more. That was a starting point. Okay. Wow.
Like RJ, please prove me so incredibly wrong on this. But what we're seeing, who's going to have the better career? You think of him a two-way knockdown 3-point shooter, and Cam Johnson. What's RJ Barrett going to be?
All right, super realistic. All right, well, I got another one. Would you rather have Julius Randle or Aaron Gordon?
You gotta take Julius Randle still.
Okay.
I mean, I get where you're coming from, but it's got to be Julius Randle. Like Aaron Gordon's never going to be your lead scorer or the lead guy of a playoff team.
Okay. Would you rather have Julius Randle or Lauri Markkanen?
Ooh, that's tougher, but as much as I want to believe and I want to say to God, it should be Markkanen, like the things that he could do for his size, but I'll probably still take Julius Randle. If Markkanen repeats what he did last year, I still but for now it's still Randle. I
like it. Here's the ultimate test now. Would you rather have Julius Randle or Pascal Siakam?
That's a tough one now.
Ooh.
I'm kind of leaning towards Siakam, but yet again, I'm also like, it'd probably be a fairly similar situation. Great in the regular season, but then when you need them to be that lead guy in the playoffs, there you know that maybe they're better as a number 2 guy when it comes to their big moment in the playoffs. So I'll stick with Julius Randle. I'll keep him ahead of Siakam. I think it's Randle.
Okay, you've passed the New York Knicks loyalty test for Julius Randle. Did not last very long for Barrett, which says a lot for me. Now our new guy, who has become just such a delight in New York, and I've loved what he's done there, Mr. Brunson. Would you rather have Jalen Brunson or Tyrese Halliburton?
He'd be Jalen Brunson.
All right. Okay. Number one, pass. Would you rather have Jalen Brunson or Trae Young?
Jalen Brunson. I love
All right.
I love Jalen Brunson's energy. I love what he brings, and I think they maybe Trey's gonna have more All-Star games, more All NBAs, more points per game. But I think on the whole, when you look back at their careers, I think they could be very similar level.
I love that point. Jalen Brunson or Darius Garland?
Jalen Brunson. Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
That's okay. All right, but let's bump it up a little bit here. Jalen Brunson or Ja Morant?
You know, I'm ready to sign off on Ja Morant, so I'm taking Jalen Brunson. Well, maybe.
All right.
What do we know we're gonna get from Ja Morant from here on in? We may go be on a slippery slope. Jalen Brunson's gonna be the good guy of the NBA, the good guy of the Knicks, and the lead guy of the Knicks, hopefully.
Okay, so at this point, we won't get any crazier than this because then we're talking Steph range. But Jalen Brunson or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander?
You're pulling at me there. Ooh, man. I guess you probably have to go Shai there.
That was unfair. That was just testing you. That's the right answer.
Yeah,
but
it's probably tougher than you think when you actually think about it on the whole. But yeah, you probably got to go Shai though.
Yeah, but like I was thinking about how hard that might be, and you know what? I agree with a lot of those other ones, and especially like in terms of what Brunson brings to the team, professionally speaking and consistency wise. Like, you know, obviously Ja Morant's a better player, but right now, not so sure. But I think it's crazy the development he's had because I do kind of I agree with your perspective on those other players and definitely your perspective on, you know, where does Trae Young and Jalen Brunson compare 6-7 years from now in terms of what their teams are doing, for sure.
Yeah. I gotta trust in my guys. You know, it's nice to be able. Right. It's nice to be able to do that. Yeah.
2 out of 3. 2 out of 3. Barrett, you'll come along next year. We'll try that again. Hopefully, we'll get past one player.
Well, that's got to be the hope. But like I said, I hope that he proves me very wrong. I'll go different now. I'll throw one out to you. Just the one today. One that recently got a bit of a conversation, I believe. But who would you rather start your franchise with, Paul Pierce or Dwayne Wade?
What? Really? I'm sorry, Boston, but please. Dwayne Wade. 100% Dwayne Wade. I don't know who's asking that question. I love Paul Pierce, one of the great scorers in history. According to him, developed the step back. I guess that's him, sure. The Truth made one of the most miraculous in-game medical recoveries of all time. Like that, definitely historical great. But Dwayne Wade, come on. Dwayne Wade. Do I have to go into it? I mean, that one of the most electrical scorers, defenders from day one. The second this guy got in the NBA, I think that's also like one of the, you know, let's look back and look at what players made an impact right away, like championship. Like this guy was winning championships the second he got into the league, not because of someone else, but because of him. Like he was a driving force of Miami. They got in the league. Mm-hmm. No question. None asked.
I like it. Yeah. No, I agree. You got that answer straight up. I'm glad that you made that call and it was so unanimous. You're definitely on the right side of it there. But I think that's gonna do it for today's episode. A little bit of fun there to finish off. We both had our tests and we both seem to have passed.
Yeah, mine was a little easier. Yeah.
Yeah, yours a little bit easier. Yeah. We have our draft. Chris won that, but that will hopefully change as we move forward. Still in the depths of the off season. Still a lot of fun to be had. Still a lot of basketball to be talked about, even if it's not current and looking ahead. But we will continue to look at the teams like I mentioned, that have a lot of question marks heading into the new season. We'll be continuing to have some fun with some drafts and some NBA Would You Rathers, and the Throwback Corner will definitely be something that we continue to do. But for now, that's it. My thanks to Chris for joining me. Thank you all so much for listening. And remember, take every shot and love every moment.
Peace out.